Let me tell you something about football Twitter, football YouTube, football Reddit, anywhere people talk about this game. The moment a big money signing doesn't score in his first few weeks, the knives come out. Doesn't matter how he's playing, doesn't matter what he's doing without the ball, doesn't matter what the actual data says. If the number next to his name on the league table is small, he's a flop. Done. Case closed. That's exactly what happened to Florian Wirtz this season at Liverpool. £116 million, the most expensive transfer in Premier League history. And for the first chunk of this season, the headlines were no goals, no assists, overpriced, overhyped.
Florian Wirtz, he is the worst Premier League signing in history. He is one of the worst Liverpool signings ever. He's an absolutely nothing. He's gone 009. Not one goal, not one assist in 9 games.
I've seen the comments. I know what people have been saying. But here's the thing I want you to understand before we go any further. Goals and assists are the last thing you should be using to judge Florian Wirtz right now. Because under the surface of this season, there is a player operating at a level that most people watching are simply not equipped to see. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 things. The real numbers that the casual fan never looks at. The hidden work that doesn't end up on the highlights reel. Why Liverpool themselves are partly responsible for not getting the best out of him yet. And then the moment, the exact turning point where everything started to shift. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see Wirtz very differently.
Close to him, this is Wirtz. Newcastle fans should have cleared. Wirtz, dangerous, Ekitike, 1-1!
Okay, let's start with the stat everyone's obsessing over. Goals and assists. In the Premier League this season, Wirtz has 4 goals and 3 assists across 29 appearances. For a £116 million player, people expected more. I get that. I understand the frustration. But here's what I need you to think about. Wirtz is an attacking midfielder. His job, his actual job on this Liverpool team, is not to be the top scorer. His job is to be the player who makes everything around him work. The pass before the assist, the press that creates the turnover, the run that drags 2 defenders and opens space for someone else. So when you only look at goals and assists, you are literally looking at the last 2 seconds of a 10-second sequence and ignoring the first 8. That's not analysis, that's scoreboard watching. Now let me show you what the first 8 seconds actually look like for Wirtz this season. Expected threat. That's the metric that measures how much danger a player creates from their position on the pitch, based on every single touch, carry and pass. Wirtz is ranked 11th in the entire Premier League for expected threat this season. Not among midfielders, in the whole league. Top 11. He's averaging 3.1 chances created per 90 minutes. For context, that's the kind of rate that only elite playmakers in Europe sustain. And in the Champions League, only Kylian Mbappe created more chances than him across the whole competition. So the guy who isn't contributing is creating danger at the rate of one of the top 11 players in England. The guy who hasn't shown up is in the same conversation as Mbappe in Europe's biggest club competition. How is that possible without anyone noticing? Because goals didn't come from it. And in football media, if a chance doesn't become a goal, it basically didn't happen. That's the problem with how we talk about this game, and Wirtz is the victim of it. Here's the part that genuinely surprises people when I show it to them. Because if you think Florian Wirtz just floats around looking for the ball in nice positions, you've been watching a completely different player. Let's talk about pressing, At Leverkusen last season, Wirtz averaged 1.25 high turnovers per 90 minutes. That means possessions he personally won in the opposition's final third. That was the single highest rate of any player in the entire Bundesliga. Not any midfielder, any player. And across the 2 seasons before joining Liverpool, he won the ball in the final third 71 times, at least 15 more than the next closest player in the league. This is a number 10, a playmaker, topping the entire Bundesliga in high-pressing returns. That is not normal. And he carried that into the Premier League. This season, even through the difficult start, Wirtz ranks in the top 10 players in the entire Premier League for possessions won in the final third. And of all the players who have covered over 75 kilometres of distance on the pitch this season, that's 166 players, Wirtz is in the top 6 for high-intensity sprints per 90 minutes. He is running more, pressing harder, winning the ball in dangerous areas than almost every player in this league. And the reaction to his season has been, he's not contributing. But wait, there's more, and this one is my favourite. Remember I told you he was creating chances at an elite rate, but his teammates weren't converting? Here's the evidence. Before Wirtz registered his first Premier League assist, which came in match week 17, he had already created 25 chances. 25 in the league alone, and not a single teammate converted any of them. That's not a Wirtz problem, that is a conversion problem. He was doing the creative work, the ball just wasn't going in. In one game, the 2-1 loss at Chelsea, Wirtz came off the bench, and within minutes he played this cheeky, disguised pass behind his body to Mohamed Salah. Perfectly weighted, perfectly timed. Salah missed the target. That moment doesn't show up in any stat line for Wirtz. No assist, no nothing. He just did it, and it disappeared. This is what I mean when I say the scoreboard is lying to you. The work is real. The quality is real. The numbers that matter are all pointing at a player who is very much here, very much competing, just in a system that hasn't fully learned how to use him yet. Now, I want to be fair here. Some of Wirtz's struggles this season weren't just about the Premier League being faster and more physical, which it absolutely is. Some of it was structural. Liverpool's setup, at least early in the season, was not built for the way Wirtz operates best. Here's a number that tells the whole story. At Leverkusen last season, Wirtz averaged 83.6 touches per 90 minutes. In his first 20 games for Liverpool, 63.9. That's a drop of nearly 20 touches per game. For a player whose entire game is built on constant involvement, on constantly being the link, constantly receiving and releasing, constantly dictating tempo, losing 20 touches a game is not a small thing. That's a completely different role. Why? Because in the early months, Wirtz was being played predominantly in the central zone between the halfway line and the 18-yard box, the most congested area of the pitch. Defences double and triple up there, the spaces are tiny. And in the Premier League, where you have literally 0.81 seconds on average before someone is pressing you, that central zone is basically a trap for a player like him. Xabi Alonso understood this. At Leverkusen, Wirtz had the freedom to drift, to operate in half spaces, to come from the left and cut in. That positional freedom is where he's most dangerous. At Liverpool, he didn't have that immediately, and his numbers showed it. And here's the other thing nobody wants to say out loud: Mohamed Salah. When Salah is in the team, he commands so much attention, so much ball, so much of the tactical structure around him, that Wirtz naturally ends up in a supporting role he's not built for. It's no coincidence that Wirtz's best run of form this season came in January, when Salah was away at AFCON. Suddenly, Liverpool's play revolved more around Wirtz. Suddenly, he had more touches, more carries, more license, and the goals started coming. That's not a knock on Salah, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But it tells you something important about what Wirtz needs to be at his absolute best: centrality. He needs to be the player the system rotates around, and Arne Slot is still figuring out how to give him that while keeping everyone else happy. The good news is, Slot adapted. From around December onwards, he started deploying Wirtz wider, giving him more left-side freedom, letting him drift instead of park him in the pocket. And the results were almost instant. So, let's talk about what's actually been happening since the system shifted. From match week 17 onwards, when Slot started using him differently, Wirtz's average passes per game jumped from 45.6 to 73.8 per 90. His touches went from 63.9 back up to 81.9, almost back to his Leverkusen numbers. And his touches in the opposition box went from 5 per 90 to 7.6. He wasn't just getting the ball more, he was getting it in more dangerous places. And then the goals came. His first Premier League goal against Wolves.
Goes Ekitike, lovely ball, Wirtz, yes! No one's taking that goal away.
Then Fulham, where he scored in a 2-2 draw.
Wirtz in front of him, going all on his own, does find Wirtz, and he finds the finish, and again.
Then Burnley, and that one, if you haven't seen it, go find it right now. A struck, arrowed shot into the top corner. That was not a tap-in, that was a statement.
Now Wirtz, brilliant goal, what a fantastic finish.
After that goal against Newcastle in the 4-1 win, that's when the pundits started shifting. That's when people started saying, okay, this is actually the player we thought we were getting.
Obviously, Flo, I was watching him, when I was talking about beautiful player to watch, is one of them. I play against him in Germany, but it's someone I was watching, his game, because I just love the way he played. It's someone who smells football. He's a really good footballer, and obviously I think we speak the same language of football. That's why we click, and we just needed time to play with each other to become even more stronger links, and to play a good football, because I think we speak the same language, and it's really nice to share the pitch with that kind of player.
And look at the duel numbers. Against Wolves in one particular game, Wirtz competed in 15 duels and won 11 of them. Personal bests in a single match for his Liverpool career. He's adapting to the physicality. He was always pressing, now he's winning the physical battles too. Here's the stat that made me stop and just stare at the screen. Since the 20th of December, so from roughly Christmas onwards, no player in the Premier League has more direct goal involvements than Florian Wirtz. The guy who supposedly isn't contributing, the supposed flop, has been the most directly productive player in the entire Premier League over that stretch. Where's that headline? Why isn't that everywhere? Because people already made up their minds, because the narrative was set early and nobody wants to walk it back. That's how football media works. But you're watching this video because you want the real picture, and the real picture is this. Wirtz averaged 2.8 chances created per 90 in his difficult early period. Then, as Slot unlocked him more, the chances dropped slightly to 2.2, but his expected assists per 90 went up from 0.25 to 0.39. He's not just creating more, he's creating better. The quality of his decision-making is improving. His partnership with Ekitike has grown into something real. They've combined for more goals in all competitions than any other Premier League duo this season. He said it himself, "I was very excited when I came and wanted it to be an instant success. But it didn't happen like this, and I just had to stay strong in my mind and keep believing in myself that at one point it has to click." It clicked. And if you've been sleeping on Florian Wirtz because of a slow start and some lazy stat lines, you are going to want to fix that very soon. Because the player who was the best pressing midfielder in the Bundesliga, one of the best chance creators in Europe, and the most productive player in the Champions League group stage last year, that player hasn't gone anywhere. He's just been warming up. If this video changed how you see him, drop a comment. I want to know, did you write Wirtz off early? Because I think a lot of people did, and I want to hear about it. Like, subscribe, see you in the next one.